I'm Mike Quackenbush. This is Till We Make It. Today, let's explore the value of creative flexibility. You may know I'm a massive fan of David Byrne, the former frontman of the Talking Heads, and I was just watching an interview with him that inspired me to make this video, in which he talks about the value of creative flexibility and about all of us as artists that create, whether we are musicians, professional wrestlers, or any other type of performer out there. Do you value creative flexibility? And his approach and insight on this, I thought, was exceptionally valuable. That's why I want to explore it with you. In the interview I watched, David Byrne was addressing in a roundabout way the relative success of an artist like Jay-Z versus the relative success of David Byrne as a solo artist, now decades removed from his commercial height as the frontman of the Talking Heads, and the difference between the two as it regards the creative freedoms that they enjoy. And this was the point that I thought Byrne made very eloquently. He said, in order for Jay-Z to maintain being Jay-Z, he gives up some creative flexibility because he must continue to deliver a certain kind of product, roughly the same, over and over again to maintain his audience at such a level as to guarantee his income. He cannot afford to go too far afield in what he creates, or else he risks losing some of that audience. And this point is exceptionally analogous with professional wrestling as well, especially what we might happen to make at the independent level versus what some of the top dollar earning stars at the corporate level make in professional wrestling. There are certain creative freedoms that will be sacrificed if you want to play at the very top of the industry. And if you value creative flexibility in the work that you create, you must come to accept that possibly you will never make the really big money. And so there is a trade-off that we must carefully consider. I happen to have some insight into this, as more than a handful of people that I have trained happen to work for the industry leader, World Wrestling Entertainment. And in order for them to play at the very top of the industry, they are counted on to reliably create and recreate roughly the same thing over and over again in front of every new audience that they experience on tour. That's every live event, every TV taping, every pay-per-view, every whatever. They are counted on to go out there and reliably recreate roughly the thing that got them to that dance over and over again, including things like exact spots, movements, and character rituals without variation. And with good reason. The people that turn up to those events, that pay their hard-earned money to have a ticket, are there to participate in the repetition. They are there for that ritual. And if they don't get that, then they didn't really get their full ticket value. And there's nothing amiss about that. That's exactly the relationship. If you went out to see your favorite band and they played none of the songs that you like best, you would not feel like you got your full ticket value. To an extent, you expect a certain number of greatest hits. You expect a certain number of deep album cuts. And you've got to get that right balance so that you feel like you as the concert goer got full value for your ticket. And the same is exactly true of what we make in professional wrestling. But in order to attract the broadest possible audience, you've got to recreate the product that brought you to that dance every single time. Otherwise, that broad audience, which supplies you with that income stream, shrinks and shrinks and shrinks. So there may come a time in your career where you must put these things on the scale. Do you value your creative flexibility, or do you value the potential to earn top dollar doing what you're doing? And yes, there are some people that find a pretty good balance between the two. But for the majority of us, you're going to have to decide which of these two things you would prefer to have. And that may speak to what will satisfy you personally. It will probably come as no surprise to you that I think of professional wrestling as performance art. And that's not to say that you have to. Absolutely not. You may see it purely as a business venture. And one of these is not right, one of these is not wrong. They're just different perspectives on the same thing. And you're as entitled to your opinion as I am to mine. Someone who prioritizes wrestling as business venture only might see greater value in earning top dollar, whereas someone who prioritizes wrestling as performance art might place a higher value on creative freedom. And some people find a balance between those two. They don't necessarily prioritize one over the other, but they like a little bit more of one or a little bit less of the other so that they personally feel satisfied by the experience they have as a pro wrestler. If you happen to be one of those performers, though, that puts a lot of value on their individual creativity, I think you do need to come to terms with the fact that you may not become a millionaire as a professional wrestler, even though you may find artistic satisfaction in the craft. And if you are the kind of wrestler who feels as if that individual creativity is secondary to the potential to earn top dollar as a performer, I want to be very clear. I don't think of you as a sellout at all. I don't think that's what this is about. I think it is simply a matter of prioritizing the ability to make a certain kind of income over experiencing a certain type of creative flexibility. And one of these is not better or worse than the other. While I don't have any sales figures to back this up, I think it is probably safe to say that some of David Byrne's solo work, like his spoken word album or that double concept album he did about Imelda Marcos, probably does not yield the same sales numbers as his commercially successful records as part of the Talking Heads did in the mid-'80s, like Remain in Light or Speaking in Tongues. I think it is safe to say that he probably traded his ability to earn income at the very top level for his creative freedom. He probably will never make the kind of money again that he did working for Sire Records under the Warner Music Group that he does working on a record label that he owns himself, but he enjoys a certain creative flexibility as a result for making that choice. And I thought about that and how it lines up neatly with my own wrestling career and the career of many of my peers at the independent level, who sometimes lose sight of this simple fact, myself included. And that is this: that the work that we do here at the independent level or at anything other than the very top of the industry is somehow of less value because it yields less money. And I don't believe that. I don't think that that is true. And I think we need to put greater value on the creative freedoms that we enjoy at this level, so that should we ever get the opportunity to go and play at the very top of the industry, where some, if not all, of that creative flexibility will be greatly restricted or diminished, we do appreciate the journey that we were on before we ever got there and started making the big bucks. Whether you are brand new to the wrestling lifestyle or deep on your journey as a professional wrestler, I bet you know someone that needs Till We Make It, and I need you to share this channel with them. Please help me find some new subscribers, and together we will start circulating the ideas that perhaps over time will contribute to the greater success of pro wrestling as a whole. If you're on board with that idea, hit like, subscribe, and the bell, and don't be afraid to drop your comments below. I'm always interested to see what you have to say, and it is from that very comment section I often pluck new ideas for the videos we'll be making, next week, and the week after that, and the week after that, and then the week after that.